Well, hello and welcome. This is the Disability Law Show. Once again, so glad you tuned in. And here's some information right off the top. John Scholes here, Sivan Tumarkin, courtesy Samfiru Tumarkin LLP, the most positively reviewed law firm in the country, I might add. You want to reach out to Sivan and his team anytime. First, the phone number, 1-855-821-5900. Never hesitate to pick up a phone and call Sivan and his team just to have a chat for more information beyond what you glean from this half-hour television show for sure. help@disabilityrights.ca is the email address. We'll get into some of those a little later on. And our main topic, the guide to returning to work from LTD. We'll cover that here in just a little bit. But we always kick off the show. Get us warmed up if you'd like, Sivan, with a success story, a week that was, case of the day, whatever you want to call it. What do you got going on this week?
Thanks, John. Let's start with the case of the day. In fact, an email that came to me this morning to mydisabilityquestions.com that you just mentioned. Now, interestingly enough, this came from somebody in Halifax. And again, to reinforce the point, we do long-term disability cases across the country, with the exception of Quebec. That's a bit different. The laws are different there. So when somebody emails us from Nova Scotia, from Halifax, Calgary, BC, Edmonton, it doesn't matter where, we help people across the country with their long-term disability issues. So let me read this. This came from Jeff. Here's what Jeff wrote to me. And this is on mydisabilityquestions.com. You can see that question posted there. He says, I was diagnosed with osteoarthritis in both knees and lower back, as well as COPD. I've been off since August 2022 on LTD. The insurance company tells me that the files they see are of mild diagnosis and they are sending me to an 8-week rehab program, and I'm expected to return to work shortly after. My knees and back are in incredible pain despite mild diagnosis. Anything I can do? Excellent question, and I want to break this down here. Number one, he says he's been on LTD since 2022, so last year. So he's been on it for what? I don't know, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, whatever. It means that the insurance company has agreed that due to his conditions, he's disabled from working at the very least in his own occupation.
Got it.
Okay. Now they're sending him to an 8-week rehab program. So my first question is, did his doctor or doctors approve this? Has he not been already doing some rehab? And if so, why does he need this other rehab? But more importantly is that they're sending him to that rehab. They are dictating to him where he ought to be going for this rehab. And you have to question yourself, you have to ask, why are they sending him to the particular clinic that he's going to be sent to? Is it because they may be able to help him, or is it because they expect the clinicians who are going to be taking care of him to crank out the report at the end of the 8 weeks that he's ready to go back to work? That's always my concern with people going to clinics or doctors for treatments that the insurance companies are recommending, not because these clinics are bad or because these practitioners are bad, but because you have to ask yourself, why is the insurance company interested in you going to that specific clinic? And in this case here, that's going to be my concern. I hope he's helped. I hope he's ready to go back. But his question here is, he says, I am expected to return to work shortly after. How can he be expected to return to work after? How can they know if he's going to be better or well enough to go? So they put the cart before the horse. They say, we're going to send you to a treatment programs and we expect you to be back to work after. Isn't the better approach, we're going to send you to that rehab clinic with the consent and permission and agreement of your doctor, and then afterwards we'll assess whether or not, in conjunction with your doctor, as to whether or not you're ready to go back to work. You understand? What they're doing is they're dictating the circumstances, and they can't. They're not allowed to do that. He should be following his own doctor's advice. Now, he's saying, my knees and back are in incredible pain, despite the diagnosis. Anything I can do? So the first thing I would say here is speak to your doctors. See if your doctors agree with this rehab program. And even if they agree, I would want you to do this rehab elsewhere, not wherever the insurance company is telling you to go.
Right.
You need to be able to look after your own interests. Remember, insurance companies don't have your interests at heart. I don't care if it's car insurance, house insurance, disability insurance, travel insurance. Insurance companies are in it for one reason and one reason only, to make a profit. They don't make a profit by looking out for your interest. Sometimes those interests are aligned. Sometimes they understand they have to pay you. But typically speaking, they are trying to get you off claim as soon as possible. So to me, this seems like a classic case of the insurance company trying to get rid of Jeff. Now, if he's unable to go back to work, There is no way that this insurance company can legally cut off his benefits. Even if he goes to this rehab program, if he's unable to go back to work after, if his doctors agree that he should be off work, they cannot cut him off, but they may try. And that's where we come in, and that's where we push back, and that's where we analyze. You see how I dissected this as a simple case. Yeah. But for Jeff, he doesn't know what to do. Most people out there, they don't know what to do.
They panic.
They panic because you think the insurance company has unlimited power, unlimited resources. They don't. Insurance companies hate fighting these claims. They want people to say yes, yes, yes. They don't want any resistance. They're like the Borg, right? They say to you, resistance is futile. Except it's not. And that's what people need to understand. Listen, I worked as an insurance lawyer before I started doing this work for people, and I can tell you, it's all a bluff. It's all a bluff. If they are wrong, they will capitulate faster than you can blink. But you need to have someone help you along the way and tell you what your rights are.
You know, we've had cases, and you've had emails, we've talked about them on the show like this, where someone says, you know, the insurance companies asked me to go see this specialist or this doctor, but an 8-week program, that's pretty all-encompassing. Is that typical?
Anything
I know you're not a doctor.
Yeah.
But that seems like a lengthy time to be put under the thumb of the insurance company. You're 8 weeks, you're going here.
Yeah, and I'm curious about what, though, right? Because he's talking about his knees and his back, but he has COPD as well.
Right.
I'm not sure exactly why he can't actually work. In other words, I don't know what the... And by the way, in these cases, there's also mental health issues, anxiety and depression, right? Everything is intertwined. So I'm not sure what this rehab program is supposed to do. I would love to speak with his doctors and understand from his doctors whether they agree with this or not, whether he's already tried this before in a different context or not. Okay. So you're right. Have they done this before? Yeah, insurance companies do all kinds of things. It doesn't mean that it's right, doesn't mean that it's legal. But people often say yes because they think they have to. Unless your policy says you must go and get treatments from the place that the insurance company is telling you, you don't. And so the policy dictates everything. What I would tell Jeff here, if he doesn't want to speak with me at this point, is ask your adjuster to show you where in your policy it says that you must undergo this rehab program. Now, there's going to be a provision that says that you must undergo reasonable treatments.
That's different.
That's different. Yeah. That doesn't mean that you have to go to the program that they select for you and the program that they tell you the place they tell you to go to. You can speak to your doctor and get a recommendation of where to go.
And they may say, yeah, great, go for it. Or
100%.
No.
Yeah. 100%. So it really depends. And that's why I tell people, you know, don't be afraid or hesitant to contact us because we'll tell you, every case is somewhat different. That's the thing. We talk in generalities here and we try to read out questions and get through scenarios. But, you know, the crux of it is that insurance companies don't have the power that you think that they do. You have a lot more rights than you think you do. All you need is to be educated, informed, and empowered. Once you have that, it's a different ballgame with insurance companies.
There's a website called pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. It's been around for several years. Literally millions of Canadians have used it for the employment side of it, for sure. Again, pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. But Sivan, there's also a well-adjusted and reasonable component about long-term disability, and it's there for a reason, yeah?
Exactly. So this website, it's a free website. And if you have any questions about employment law, your employment situation, a friends, a family members, a colleagues, you want to help them out, or if there is a question about long-term disability, oftentimes you're intertwined, right? Somebody on disability has employment law issues and vice versa. You're having issues with your employer because you're disabled. You want to get quick answers. You don't want to call us or email us for any reason. You're Googling your answers, which is like the worst thing you can do. It's like Googling, you know, your illness.
Yeah, terrible.
You know, you're just not going to get the right information most times. If you go to the Pocket Employment Lawyer, it's quick, it's anonymous, it's customized. And if at the end of that you get an answer and you want more information, you want to speak with us for free, you simply get, you know, you click the button, we get an email, we connect with you, and we speak with you about your disability matter. If you don't, close the browser. We'll never know you were there. But it's an amazing, and you're right, it's been used endless times across Canada.
Disabilityrights.ca, that is the main hub of the website for Sivan. And there's a Knowledge Center tab. You scroll down media, you'll find links to radio stations pretty much across this country, at least, you know, BC and Ontario, that have carried our radio program for many years. Sivan does it. I do it with him. A lot of his colleagues at the firm cover off the radio show. And that's nice because you have a chance to call in and ask your questions live on air when we host these shows. So go back and listen to those. I want to pull a phone call from a recent show, Sivan, and dissect it a little bit and talk about it. So we'll do that right now.
My wife worked for a very large international company. She was diagnosed with lupus, was denied long-term disability, but her policy is a pretty good policy. It does allow for cost of living increases and so forth. What are the drawbacks if we pursue a settlement versus just getting regular benefits? How would you usually say, you know, what a good settlement would be?
Good question.
It's an excellent question, but it presupposes, John, that you can just approach the company for a settlement, and you generally can't do that. And here's the reason why. When you apply for long-term disability, the insurance company will tell you if they agree for you to get benefits, whether you're approved or you're not approved. If you're not approved, or if you've been approved and then your benefits are going to be cut off or have been cut off, we can certainly help you get a potential settlement with the insurance company. But if, in this case, his wife, who was recently diagnosed with lupus, if she was not denied, in this case she was, but if she was not denied, some people ask me, well, can I just negotiate off the bat with the insurance company and be done with it? And that's very risky, because insurance companies are going to be very suspicious as to why you want to just settle out your whole claim as opposed to get it month by month the way it was designed. In this case, because she was denied, we can act on it immediately. We can start a claim immediately. We can get a defense lawyer that the insurance company is going to appoint, and we can speak with them about a resolution. Now, how do these cases resolve? I think this is the crux of the question. There are really two ways for them to be resolved. Either through a settlement, what's called a lump sum settlement, where you get generally the retroactive amount that you were owed since the date of denial, plus X amount of years into the future to be negotiated of benefits, or that there is a reinstatement, or that you are now retroactively approved such that you are now getting retroactively the money you were owed since you were denied, and now we're getting it on a month-to-month basis. For either of these to happen, there has to be a resolution with the insurance company, with their consent. This is where we come in, we negotiate this. If it doesn't resolve, it can end up in court. But here's the thing, virtually none of these cases ever go to court. I can count on one hand how many cases have gone to court in the last year or so for long-term disability, because insurance companies don't want to take these things to court. That's how we can resolve them. So to answer the question here, whether we get a lump sum settlement or whether there is a reinstatement depends on the facts of each case. I've had both. I've had cases where I've reinstated, or the benefits were reinstated. I've had cases where we negotiated lump sum settlements. I'll say this, it depends on my client as much as the insurance company, because if my client believes that they should continue getting benefits until they're 65, well, then we have to go through the motions. We have to force the insurance company to do that. Otherwise, many people just want to do away with the insurance company through a settlement. Again, this is where we come in. We negotiate that. We go through the legal process. We maximize the pressure that we apply on the insurance company to make sure we get as much money as we can into our client's pocket.
All right, good stuff. Let's take a short break. Upon a return, it'll be guiding you through return to work after a disability leave. So stick around for that. Here's that phone number again, guys, 1-855-821-5900. And to reach out through email, help@disabilityrights.ca. We're coming right back.
People think you have to sign back a severance offer by a deadline. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Deadlines are used as a pressure tactic. Make sure the offer is fair before you sign. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca. Can insurance companies deny long-term disability claims for mental illness?
When you're suffering from a mental health disability, insurance companies just don't understand. But we do.
They can absolutely not force you back to work. If your doctors say you are not ready and you know you're not ready, they cannot make you go back to work.
If you have a mental health disability and your claim is denied, don't give up. Give us a call and let us fight for you.
Go to disabilityrights.ca. Discover your rights, fight back, and get what you're owed. People think you aren't owed severance pay if you are fired for a reason. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Most for-cause terminations are false, and you are still owed full severance. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned to the Disability Law Show. Outside this half hour, you're always invited to reach out to Sivan and his crew, 1-855-821-5900 and help@disabilityrights.ca. You want to send an email along anytime. Okay, as mentioned, the main topic for the show today, guiding return to work from LTD, because eventually this is where we all want to be, back to work, get off the LTD, and continue on with our lives, right? Point number one is this, Sivan, confirm the support of treating medical professionals regarding a return. Insurers can't force a claimant to return to work before they are ready. What do you think?
Exactly.
Done. Moving
Good job,
on.
John.
We'll see you next week.
There are two components to this point, so I want to deal with both. Number one, confirm the support of treating medical professionals regarding a return, and that's key. You want to make sure you're in communication with your doctors or whoever's treating you. Make sure they're on the same page about you being ready to try to go back to work. This is key, to try to go back. You don't want a letter from them or a note which you will give to the insurance company and your employer saying you are ready to go back.
Yeah, end of story. He's good.
You got to be careful with that. You want to say you're ready to try to go back to work. So as long as you have your doctor's blessing, as far as I'm concerned, you should be able to try to go back. If your doctor says, hold on for a second, you're not ready yet, my suggestion is, I'm not a doctor, but I would say more often than not, listen to your doctors. Okay? So that's number one. Number two, insurers cannot force a claimant to return to work before they're ready. This is critical. John, every single week, maybe even day, I get contacted by people across the country who say the insurance company is forcing me to go back to work. They're saying that my benefits will end. They're saying I have no choice. I must do this. No, you do not. If you're not ready to go back to work, and your doctors have said that you are not ready to go back to work, the insurance company cannot force you. They cannot come to your home with a gun to your head, put a gun to your head and tell you you have to go to work. The only thing the insurance company may do in this instance is say to you that if you don't try to go back or you don't participate in a work hardening program or whatever they want to call it, that they're going to cut off your benefits. Boom. As soon as they say that, and your doctors have said something to the contrary that you're not ready, the insurance company is in breach of its obligation under the policy. What does that mean? It means you have now a legal right that you can enforce. You can now put a, figuratively speaking, a legal gun to the insurance company's head. Because when they tell you, we are going to stop your benefits on so-and-so date because you haven't complied, and they are not in the right, in other words, your doctors have said, no, you're not ready, you now have a legal claim, a legal right you can enforce. The insurance company breached the contract. That means the insurance company must pay you. Now, how do you do that? Well, that's where we come in. That's where we talk to you and explain to you because every case is different. But again, you cannot be forced to return back to work. You can be pressured, but how do you alleviate the pressure? You speak with us and you get informed and you get empowered by getting the knowledge you need on how to deal with the insurance company.
We're talking about guiding you back to work after LTD. Number two, again, we're going to bring the doctors into the fold for this one. Provide detailed accommodations and restrictions to your employer.
Yes. So this is already touching on the employment side of things because, of course, we do employment law in addition to disability law. This is absolutely crucial, right? You want to make sure that your employer understands what your limitations are, what accommodations you need. And some employers will say we can't offer those, in which case you should be speaking with one of our employment lawyers as to whether or not there is an accommodation employment issue and whether or not your employer is in breach of its obligations under employment laws to offer you an accommodation. On the other hand, if they truly cannot accommodate you and you're still disabled, the insurance company can't force you. Again, they can't pressure you to go back to work because you can't. You can't perform the essential tasks of your own occupation. So you can see, if you are interested in doing this, if your doctors have signed off on it, make sure that your employer has a thorough list of what you can and cannot do, accommodation in terms of hours, work times, everything you can think of. Whatever your doctor says, give that to the insurance company, give that to the employer, make sure everyone is on the same page so that if it doesn't work, everyone knows why it didn't work and what was the plan at the beginning.
Again, third point here, guiding you back to work after LTD is this. If a return to work is unsuccessful, which we've talked about, benefits can resume through what they call a recurrence clause. That's in most disability policies, right?
Yes, it's in virtually every disability policy I've ever seen. And what that does is it provides a safety net, or should provide a safety net, for people to try and go back to work. And if that return to work attempt fails, they're not able to, for whatever reason, because of their disability, they realize it was premature, they're just not ready, they should be able to go back on LTD essentially almost immediately. If an insurance company puts up a stink about it, if they say, no, we're not going to pay you, again, you contact us immediately and we will get into the picture and we will push back on the insurance company. But it's absolutely critical that if you are unable to work, you understand that within a certain time frame, and you got to look at your policy. Most policies that I have seen have a 6-month recurrence clause. So if within 6 months of you trying to go back to work, you have not been able to successfully to integrate back into the workplace, you should be able to go back on LTD, again, with the support of your doctors, whom you're going to be keeping informed, and without any hesitation or interference from the insurance company. But if there are any issues, you contact us immediately.
Good stuff. We're going to get into a couple emails here on the other side of the break, which we'll take now. Here's the number. Once again, you can keep with you and always call Sivan and his team. No obligation, no pressure there. 1-855-821-5900. And that email address, which I'm going to go to, help@disabilityrights.ca. This is a Disability Law Show. Lots more to go.
People think you should go to the government to get severance pay. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Government can only help you get minimum severance, but not everything you're entitled to. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca. If your long-term disability claim is denied, should you appeal?
Appeals often fail because insurance companies control the process. So long as you appeal, you're playing by their rules.
You should never appeal the denial of your disability benefits. Appeals are just a mirage of false hope.
Don't. That's their process. Take it out of their hands and fight for your rights with our help.
Go to disabilityrights.ca. Discover your rights, fight back, and get what you're owed. People think their employer can make changes to their job. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Your employer can't change your pay, hours, or duties. You may be entitled to full severance pay. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca.
Welcome back. Disability Law Show. A few minutes to go. Thank you so much for tuning in for this half hour. You can always reach out afterwards as well. Maybe an email you send will appear on a later show. Maybe not. help@disabilityrights.ca is the way you do that. And the phone number as well, 1-855-821-5900. Always reach out to Sivan and his crew. Just to have a chat, that's all it takes, right? Neil's first up, guys, says, I work in the manufacturing industry and have been off work for a year due to a back injury. I applied for LTD shortly after going on leave, but was denied. I've just sent in my second appeal, but I'm worried I will be denied again. Do I have any other options?
Yes.
Stop.
Stop appealing, exactly. Stop the insanity. And this is what I tell people. You know, he's been off work for about a year now because of this back injury. John, I have seen this time and time again with insurance companies send out denials. Oftentimes the denials are very skimpy. They don't give much information. Sometimes they just give you this excuse of no sufficient medical documentation proving you're disabled, or insufficient medical documentation proving that you're totally disabled. Whatever the thing is, the reality is this: you can go round and round, over and over, keep appealing it, keep getting denied. The risk is not only to your mental health and to the fact that financially you're going to be suffering because bills are piling high, no money's coming in, but also the fact that there is a 2-year limitation period for starting these legal claims, going the legal route. You know, Neil is asking, are there any other options? We talk about this ad nauseum here on this show and on the radio shows. I talk about this all the time. People are afraid when I talk about legalities because all they have in their minds are suits, you know, and courtrooms and whatever other, you know, shows on American TV they see. It's nothing like it. It's not. You are actually not going to be, as an individual making that claim, you're not going to be as involved as you think you are. In fact, most times I'm going to have to just update you about your case. And the reality is that in most cases, when somebody was denied a year ago and has gone through a bunch of appeals, when they come to me, I tell them, look, had you contacted me at the beginning, I probably would have been able to resolve this already. You would have had money in your pocket. You would have had peace of mind. Mm-hmm. So, you know, Neil, what I will tell you is this. If your doctors are saying that you cannot work, of course you know you can't work, but if they say that you cannot work, if they agree with you, if they support you, I suspect they do. But if they have that in writing, I can get this resolved fairly quickly with the insurance company. I don't care which insurance company this is. I don't care which lawyer they have on the other side. We do this for a living. They know exactly how the game is played, and they know that they're playing you. They know that when you appeal, they are playing you. It is a numbers game. They know that I'm sure there's statistics about this, by the way. I don't have these statistics because they will never provide these. But I'd love to see statistics, and I've said this time and time again, of how many of these appeals are successful. Oh. Conversely, I'd like to see statistics about how many people who appeal and get denied over and over just give up. I bet you it's a large proportion. Yeah. Yeah. So if they're playing the numbers game, if they know that out of 10 denials, 5 people will appeal and 4 of those will just give up, imagine how much money is left in their pockets, not yours. Yeah. Don't play this game. We can help you here. Honestly, I just want to see the documentation. I want to see the medical documentation in support of your injury and being off work. I want to see the denial letters. I want to see the policy. And I can tell you within literally 2 minutes whether or not you have a case or not. It's not that hard. And then you can decide how you want to do. You want to play around again? You want to go for a third appeal? Sure. You want to go through a more effective method, sort of the nuclear option, right? Just bringing the fight to them, letting me bring the fight to them on your behalf, by all means, game on.
Website, mydisabilityquestions.com. It's free, it's anonymous. It does exactly what the title says. You're allowed to ask your questions online. Use your tablet, your phone, desktop for that matter, mydisabilityquestions.com. It's anonymous too, unless you put your name in there, right? Lillian writes in, says, I've been receiving short-term disability for an ongoing mental health issue. My doctors believe I'm still not ready for a return to work, and my health would regress rather. If I apply for LTD, is an approval automatic?
The answer is no. And the answer is no because it depends. First of all, it's a different department or a different company even that may provide you with LTD. Short-term disability, generally, if you have it, is through your employer. Your employer is the one who's paying. Sometimes it's an insurance company, and it's the same insurance company. Sometimes it also pays you long-term disability. Sometimes you don't have access to short-term disability. Sometimes it's just LTD. You have to go through EI sick benefits or some other government program for the first little bit. But there is no automatic sort of right. However, generally the test to get STD is the same as the test to get LTD. So practically speaking, if you've satisfied the test for short-term disability, you should be able to satisfy the test with the same medical documentation or continuing medical documentation from your physicians for the LTD component. But we've had situations, John, where people get approved for one and not the other. I've had situations where people got approved for, denied for STD, but approved LTD. Go figure that one.
Right.
And typically they come to us and we say, listen, very, very simple for us to resolve this. I mean, we simply write to the STD insurer or the employer saying, you know, pay up or you're going to get hit with a legal claim. And so they pay up. But again, it's not automatic. But we typically don't see people who are approved for STD not get approved for LTD. It does happen, and when it does, we can help.
And then, is it a case where when that happens, you might have to heal this whole appeal thing again and go all through that rigmarole? Okay.
Yes, these appeals. Listen, insurance companies, it's very systematic. I mean, they're very methodical in how they do this. It's actually quite ingenious if you think about it. They'll deny X amount of people for any reason that they can think of. Sometimes it's multiple reasons. Then they'll tell you to appeal, and they hope that by denying your appeals, eventually you're going to give up. And statistically, I don't have the statistics, but I can only imagine it works. Right? The more barriers you put for someone, especially someone who's disabled, especially somebody that has a mental health issue, but even somebody who's physically disabled, the more chance there is that that person will give up. They don't have the strength. They also think that the insurance company is omnipotent and has unlimited resources and will just continue denying. They can't understand or believe that the insurance company can be brought down to heel. And I'm telling you, they can. That's what we do. Each and every day. Not just us. There's other lawyers who do this across the country. But our team of lawyers, the nice thing about them is that many of our lawyers, including myself, used to work for the insurance companies in the past. So we're coming at this from the perspective of,
okay, the dark side.
We've been there, we've seen it. I understand how much insurance companies hate paying their lawyers to defend these claims when they know they're going to have to pay out at the end.
Right.
So trust me on this. At the very least, call us to get this information, talk to us. We're not going to pressure you to do anything. If you don't want to do anything with this, don't do anything, but at least you'll be armed with this information. That's the key thing. Knowledge is power. Insurance companies want to keep you in the dark. That's how they have power over you.
How many times have you seen appeals? 2, 3? I mean, when do they give up, the insurance company? Or when do people? How many? People
just give up all the time. Sometimes after the first one, the second one, it doesn't matter. It depends on the person, depends on their circumstances, depends on a lot of things. Yeah. It's tragic to know that they've given up on those. And sometimes those claims are worth hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, which are owed to these people. And the insurance company keep this money because people give up.
It's all about the information. We're done, but you can always reach out to Sivan and his team. You're encouraged to do so, right? That phone number, one more time, 1-855-821-5900. You want to email, that's help@disabilityrights.ca. And that website, mydisabilityquestions.com. You can use that anytime you like. Use your name or not. It can be anonymous. You can search the database for past questions as well. Done for the week. We'll see you next time right here on the Disability Law Show. Thank you so much for tuning in.